Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of the Stellium Astrology podcast. I'm Stephanie James. I am your host, the founder of StelliumAstrology.com, tutor at the London School of Astrology and former horoscope columnist for Elle Magazine UK. Right, okay, now we've got that out of the way, we can talk about our subject of the day, which is Libra. So, Libra, is the sign of the zodiac associated with balance. The glyph for Libra, I think you'll all recognise the symbol for Libra because it is, so it's like an equal sign, but the top bit has got a bump in it. And actually, if you kind of stare at it in a kind of magic eye fashion, don't know if you ever saw those magic eye pictures, it kind of looks like the sun rising or setting on the horizon. And actually that's very fitting because Libra is the seventh sign of the zodiac. It's opposite Aries, so it's Aries' opposite sign, and it's kind of the opposite to Aries as well, whereas Aries is the sign on the eastern side of the horizon where the sun rises. Libra is on the western horizon where the sun sets. But also the glyph for Libra, you could say that it looks like the scales of justice, the equilibrium. And that is something about Libra that we have to look at, is the fact that it is very much associated with balance and with equality and fairness. So Libra is an air sign. Already we know about air signs because we've recorded those shows, and if you haven't heard them, go back and listen. And the air signs are about logic and that human ability to kind of discern for yourself and make your own mind up, and to talk and to rationalize and to understand things from a logical perspective. So the air signs are very much connected to logic and to kind of understanding and reasoning. And where we talked about Aries being a sign who's very self-orientated and kind of self-driven, self-motivated, and kind of inspires people to follow, Libra being the opposite sign is a lot more, it's kind of the opposite of Aries, where it's more about other people. It likes to focus on other people, and it likes to be around other people. It's definitely the sign connected with relationships. So it's often with Aries being a Mars-ruled sign, it's kind of, they're not scared to get into conflict, and they're not scared to pursue and do things that they want to do. Libra being a Venus-ruled sign, they're much more concerned about keeping the peace, and they like to, they're not too good with conflict, and they like to make sure that, what they're doing doesn't irritate or impact other people too negatively. So Libra, actually, when the sun enters Libra, it happens to be the point of the autumn equinox. So this is the point where our days in the northern hemisphere are noticeably shorter, and this is in the decline towards winter now. So that's that marker where we're like, yep, it's really going to decline. And you might have looked at Virgo as like harvest season, where you're harvesting everything from the fields. In Libra season, we are we're recognizing the imbalance in the light in day and night, and I mentioned that balance before. If you have planets in Libra, the balance and a sense of equilibrium will definitely be under the spotlight in some way, or any planets in Libra. So usually it may be that you find yourself in situations where things just aren't really very fair sometimes. You may find yourself in situations where people will push you around, and you have to kind of really find it within yourself to assert yourself and state why you're not happy with what's going on, which may be difficult for you to do without creating conflict, which is something that Libra doesn't like to do. So that can be challenging for Libra. Let me just find So I was studying counselling skills a little while back, which I intend to continue studying next year, but we had to put everything on hold because of coronavirus. But while I was studying this course, I found it so interesting that the teacher said relationships are the vehicle for change. And I was just like, You know, when sometimes those statements just hit you, I suddenly thought, wow, yeah, because people come into your life, events happen because of those people. You know, whether it's a direct relationship where you're in a romantic relationship, or if you're in a relationship with somebody, you know, working relationship, or, you know, somewhere where you've got to work with somebody and you've got to kind of, you know, cooperate in some way, which Libra is about cooperation, and it's about working with other people or being with other people. And you learn a lot about yourself through relationships. That's the idea of Libra. Those who have Sun in Libra, Moon in Libra, lots of planets in Libra, often relationships will be important to them. And they will learn a lot about themselves through other people. And, you know, having the statement, relationships are the vehicle for change, it really was something that hit me hard, because I thought, you know, every relationship I've ever been in has changed me in some way. Every relationship I've ever been in, if it was like my first relationship with my ex-boyfriend, who is, how can I put this politely, a complete bastard. I'm leaving that in the recording. I'm not taking that out because it's true. But yeah, he taught me what I don't want from my relationships. And every single relationship along the line, I've learnt more about myself. Now, in the same way that I do have a planet, I have Pluto in Libra. That's all I have in Libra. But I have, my chart ruler is in conjunction with Venus. Yes, my chart ruler is in conjunction with Venus. So I've got a Venus and Mercury conjunction. So that's a kind of Libran, Taurian flavour to my chart in general, because of that strong presence of Venus. But also my Sun is on the western side of the chart, and the western side is where the Sun sets. And though I have had my birth time confirmed to be slightly different, I do still have a very other person orientated chart, because all my planets are very western in the chart. And so I identify with, you know, I've had a few relationships, and I'm, you know, a lot of Aquarius in my chart. So I care about my friends, I care about other people. And I think that it's really interesting to think about relationships in a sense of what they can teach you about yourself. It's not the reason why I get into relationships. You get into relationships because you really love that person's company, you enjoy spending time with them. And it's interesting because, you know, they say psychologically, in psychology, what you see in other people is a reflection of something within you. So if there's something that someone does that you really hate, you have to kind of ask yourself, why is that triggering me so deep? Why is it I hate that? Why is it bringing out such a strong response? But somebody else told me once, right, think of somebody that you admire. And it wasn't hard for me to think of a few people that I admire. They said, write their name down, and underneath write 3 qualities about them that you absolutely love and you would absolutely love to have. And so I wrote those 3 qualities down. And then after I'd done that, they said, now those qualities you already possess, you recognise it in that person, so you have those qualities, but you need to work on recognising them and bringing them out yourself. And I was like, wow, that just blew my mind. It was such a compliment to think that the things that I would admire in somebody else are things that I can find within myself. And this is what I find with Libra. It's the, you know, without getting too far into the planets, Venus is the, we all recognise the Mars and Venus symbols. They're very commonly recognised. You know, Venus is like the circle with the little cross underneath it, which actually kind of represents the vanity mirror to an extent. And if you think about the vanity mirror in the process of projection, when you hold a mirror up, people look into that mirror and what they see is themselves. They don't realise it, but in a relationship, when somebody falls head over heels with somebody, they're not falling head over heels necessarily for that person. They're falling head over heels for the person that they think they have fallen in love with. Those qualities are things that they think that other person has. So when they suddenly find out that when people let you down and you suddenly, they didn't have, I thought that they were this and I thought that they were that. The expectation you put on other people, and suddenly waking up to the fact that they never possessed those qualities, or they weren't prepared to do the things that you would have done for them. That is classic kind of issues around projection, where you suddenly wake up to the fact that they aren't the person you thought they were. In fact, the things that you thought they were the things that you are prepared to do for them. Often, that is what that is. But often as well, in a relationship, people teach you stuff about yourself that you're really not aware of. You learn about things, you learn about the world through other people in a way that perhaps you didn't understand the world before. Maybe One relationship I had was somebody who didn't go to every family commitment. Being somebody who grew up in a family that, it was expected of me to go to every commitment, every family party, and turn up at everything. It's not like a big problem, like it's nice to see your family, but I had a big family. There were a lot of reasons for us to get together very regularly. But there were a couple of times when I just really didn't want to, and I'm not very good in big crowds, and I've got a massive, huge family. You think I'm exaggerating, but my family is bigger than anyone else's family that I know. Absolutely. My dad is one of 8 and my mum is one of 5, and all of them have got children, and then they've got grandchildren. Oh, it's just massive. But going to big family dues is overwhelming. I'm a Scorpio moon, and I'm quite emotionally sensitive, and like I think I said about the water signs, it's like their energy field expands out way beyond anything you could ever kind of imagine. If they're not protected and grounded, then they're very sensitive to what's going on around them, and it can really exhaust them. It can really drain them energetically. I find it very difficult to be in those big crowds, and sometimes I just want to say, no, I don't think I've got the energy for this today, and I don't really want to. And my ex-boyfriend taught me that having those boundaries is fine. He was like, if you don't want to go, don't go. You don't have to do it. And I thought, but I do have to, because I didn't know any different. And he was like, no, just say you're not going if you don't want to. It's your choice. And I'm really grateful for that lesson that I learned from him, because he taught me about boundaries, something a Capricorn has to learn. They have to learn about boundaries, and he was teaching me how to assert mine. So often we will meet people, and relationships being the key player for Libra. This is a lesson, it's something that they teach us, which other people teach us, that really help us to become who we are. Because the process of growing in astrology is that we grow away from our moon and towards our sun. So if you are a Libra sun, but you've got like an Aries moon, you may associate more with the stuff I've said about Aries and not really recognise the Libra stuff until you get older and you find yourself growing into that Libra, because it's what we grow towards, whereas we grow away from our moon and our roots. It still all operates in our chart, but we become more conscious of our sun as we get older. And like I've said before, I never really associated myself or identified with Capricorn as much when I was younger. But the older I get, the older, as more time goes by, much more I start to realise how much of a Capricorn I really am. But anyway, I feel like I've been talking a lot about myself and my experiences. So it's very interesting that whole thing that my counselling teacher triggered. There were so many things that triggered me in counselling in a positive way, like it triggered my thought processes in such a positive way. So that I found quite interesting. But Libra isn't just about relationships. Libra's also about about beauty. It's, when I talk about balance, it's about striking that balance. And, sometimes Librans may find that having balance is hard because maybe they lean too much towards eating rubbish food, and actually they know they should eat better and they don't. And so they have to really focus on trying to strike that balance between having good days and having bad days with food, and not punishing themselves when they have a bad day, and not getting obsessed with trying to be good all the time. And for this reason, with this idea of balance, they can have a real eye for art, fine art, and be very talented in composition, maybe when writing music. It could be when painting. They do have a real gift. Like I said, all the signs of the Zodiac have their own unique creative abilities, and how they express that is very much unique to them. Some signs are going to be much more than others. So like I said with Virgo last time, they're quite crafty, good with their hands and that, usually quite a tradesman, a craftsman of some kind. Libra, interested in fairness and equality. They may appreciate beauty for being harmonious and being in tune. They might not be so much into punk music. They'd probably maybe be a little bit more into like melodic kind of composed music. And I'm thinking classical. It doesn't have to be classical with Libra, but there's a real taste with Libra that is about balance. And the other thing about fairness is that Libra is, again, concerned with equality, and they are, often found in situations where other people may need representation in some way. You might see Libra involved in law, where, you have to find somebody else to work out what's fair and bring a sense of equality where maybe there's an imbalance in a relationship. If I'm thinking, that kind of law situation with relationship, like relationship counselling, relationship guidance, marital law, that kind of thing. So you might see lawyers and what are they called? Oh my gosh, it's so annoying now. What are they called? Barristers. I think about like Bridget Jones. Her whole quest was she was working in a publisher's, and then she got involved with the boss, but she was also with this guy who was a really top lawyer. He's a real top lawyer. I love the Bridget Jones films. They got me through. They just made me feel like less of a failure when I broke up with my ex-boyfriend, and I was like, oh, I'm a spinster. But yeah, love the original Bridget Jones. It's my favourite. But yeah, I think I'm going to have to do something about that show, like talk about that at some point, because it's very, dilemma orientated, which also Libra can be very indecisive. They can struggle to make decisions because they don't want to tread on anybody's toes and upset them. They can also be very good, very charming, and very good at convincing other people to do things. My sister's got a Sun-Venus conjunction, as I've mentioned before, slightly wide, but she does have a Sun-Venus conjunction. And when they were talking about baby names and pretty much anything, she always says, I suggest what I want to James, and then we talk about it and he says he doesn't want it, and then eventually it will get to a point where I say, oh no, it was your decision, it was a great idea, and then he'll think that he came up with it, and then he'll own it like it was his, when actually it was her thing she wanted. Of all the signs of the Zodiac that don't really say what they're thinking and convince other people to do what they want without them even realising, almost hypnotic and charming and manipulative in a sense, is Libra. I don't mean it in a bad way. There's a lot of lovely Libras, they're not, I'm not saying they come from a bad place, but it's a gift that Libra has. And they're the ones that might be a little bit passive aggressive because they don't really want to say what they think. And when the person's gone, they're like, oh my God, I don't want to do what they're doing. But the whole time they're going, oh yeah, it's a great idea. Let's do that. It can be very difficult because they don't really want to upset people. They don't really want to tread on anybody's toes, but they also really do know what they want in their heart, but they don't want to annoy people along the way, and create friction. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting aspects to being a Libra, and like I said, I can't go into everything every single show. But yeah, Libra, at best, they're quite diplomatic. They can be quite gentle and considerate. Like I said, artistic, strategic, actually. Libra is probably quite good at understanding what is needed. Like I said, with like lawyers and barristers and that, people who are diplomats, they are mediators, people who are able to see what's fair and what's not, and how we can get about everybody getting what they deserve and what they should have, their equal share, basically. They're known to be quite civilised and elegant. Like I said, they've got this eye for balance and beauty. Quite diplomatic, quite charming. They can be persuasive, like I said, and very fair. At worst, Libra can be indecisive, like I said. They can struggle with making decisions. They can be quite shallow. Like I said, two-faced, unfortunately. Over-compromising. Now, this is the other thing about Libra, compromise. They will compromise over everything. I think my teacher, who is an Aries, would say, why compromise? Then nobody gets what they want. And it's kind of true, like if you know what you want, that's so Aries, that saying, if you know what you want, why not go for it? If you've got to take somebody else into consideration, you have to compromise. You're not really going to get what you want. But for Libra, the compromise is part of the process and learning about how to cooperate. Whereas an Aries might just be like, I don't want to compromise. This is not what I want. So So again, interesting that, over-compromising can be a type of self-sacrifice. You can say, okay, let's do what you want. Let's do what you want. Constantly doing what the other person wants, to the point that if you've ever had relationships like this, and I'm pretty sure everybody at some point's been in some kind of relationship, whether it's a friendship kind of relationship or if it's a romantic one, where they just do what the other person wants. Maybe they're a bit of a strong personality and they say, that's what I want. This is how I want to do it. And the Libra, or you yourself would be sitting there going, okay, let's do what you want. It could be that you're with somebody who's quite sensitive and they blow up quite a lot, and you don't really want to poke the angry bear in the cage. But actually it gets to a point where there's only so much of just agreeing with somebody else and just saying, okay, yep, let's just do what you want, yep. You just get to the point where you resent them. It can really you can really harbour contempt for somebody who just is quite happy for you to sacrifice your happiness for theirs constantly. And I think that that's another big lesson. We all have to learn that lesson in some way or another. But I think with Libra, and maybe signs like Pisces, or some of the less confident, much more introspective, introverted signs, they may be more likely to keep the peace in order to, make sure that they don't have to deal with the stress of an argument, rather than just ripping off the Band-Aid and dealing with the issue that's right there, which is an Aries approach, but actually often is a good way to, as long as you're not doing it constantly, it's a good way to clear the air and just deal with everything, while it's fresh. Time to nip it in the bud, And the other thing, I suppose, the other drawback to Libra is that they can be people pleasers, which I think is kind of assumed with a lot of the things that I'm saying, but it can be difficult for Libra to, to not want to please other people. They kind of get a lot of pleasure from seeing other people happy and content. But, there is, like I said, there's a point where you're sacrificing yourself more. And that then breeds contempt and resentment, which is no good for any relationship. Apparently, the moment that contempt appears in a relationship is the moment that the relationship is on its final legs, basically, on its last legs. So let's seal it right there. That's kind of where I got to with Libra. Now, I got a couple of quotes here. Beauty is not who you are on the outside. It is the wisdom and time you gave away to save another struggling soul like you. I thought that's quite nice. It's quite Libra in a sense, because it's about other people and helping other people in some way. And what about this one? Time for you and time for me, and time yet for 100 indecisions and for 100 visions and revisions before taking of a toast and tea. I collected these quotes a while back, so I totally forgotten what I've put down. That's a great one for Libra. It's got everything in there. It's got the indecisions, the time for you and the time for me, and even having a little bit of a toast and tea. Describes that sort of sit down, enjoy your food. I kind of think if you think about girly days out, going for afternoon tea and spa visits and stuff like that, I think that's very Libra. I think that's a very Libra kind of self-indulgent type of thing that you do with other people, the beautifying aspect. Here we go, another one. Deciding is freedom, indecision is torture. You might look at that as the kind of at worst aspect. That's kind of maybe a bit of an Aries quote. But if you think about it in the aspect of Libra, it's that kind of opposite Libra. That's Libra at its worst, maybe. And another one, here we go. When you say yes to others, make sure you aren't saying no to yourself. And that's a quote by Paulo Coelho, who he wrote The Alchemist and Veronica Decides to Die, and what's the other book that I read of his? Oh gosh, I can't remember. So that's an interesting one, actually, and I might give that one to Virgo as well, because I talked about Virgo last time, and I think Virgo has a very, very hard time saying no to people when they ask for help. And, that's why Virgo ends up overwhelmed with work sometimes, and they're just getting on with it, and then they've kind of sacrificed themselves a bit. But anyway, that's a Virgo tangent. Let's get on to charts. So we have got, I spoke about Cara before. I think I probably spoke about her in the air episode. Cara has got Aries rising, which means she's got Libra on the descendant. So Libra is in the setting aspect of the chart where the sun would go down, and she has Sun first, and then Saturn, Jupiter, Moon, and Pluto all in Libra across her descendant, and her sun has at this point gone below the horizon. So her sun's in the sixth house with Jupiter and Saturn, and her moon and Pluto are just above the horizon, on the horizon in Libra, and she also has Mercury quite close by as well. So she's got 5 planets in Libra. And I think that's all the air she's got. That's all the air she's got. But no, she's got a lot of air in her chart. And it's very cardinal air, so it's very instigative and it's very solution based. And I think last time I spoke about her, you'll have to go back and listen. But I think I said something about maybe doing something diplomatic, focused on helping other people work through their problems, and psychology being maybe a focus for her. But actually, Cara got in touch with me, and if I've ever read your chart for you on the show, I would absolutely love it if you can get in touch and give me feedback, because it's great. I can share it with people, and then they can say, "Oh yeah, I listened to that, and I can go back and hear what you said," because actually, if they really identified with that, it's worth going over it. So, oh yes, here you go. Oh, I featured her on the Cardinal episode, and she said, "Hi, my name is Cara, and you featured me on the Cardinal episode of your podcast. Everything you said was spot on. I have people coming to me constantly with their dramas. Now, the reason why is because she's got a very other person orientated aspect of the chart, and she has, it's not just her, not just one or two planets there. She's got a lot. She's got melodramatic Pluto, and she's got the sensitive moon in Libra, and then she's got Jupiter and Saturn and the Sun all there. So that's, carrying responsibility. And with Jupiter, it can be, Jupiter's known to be quite a bipolar planet. I'm not saying Cara's bipolar, but maybe the people that she meets are one extreme or the other, usually, and looking for a sense of balance. So, she says, I'm constantly listening to other people's problems for hours. I'm like a therapist to many people. I have a love of psychology and why people act the way they do. I love to get to the root of cause of behavioural patterns in humans. There was trauma in my childhood home, and I spent the last 2 years in therapy and learning about myself on a really deep level. So I think that might have connected to the fact that her moon is on the descendant in Libra, and she has Cancer on the fourth house cusp, which is the area of home and the deep psychological basement. So also she's a social butterfly, and that's one other thing I will say about all of the air signs. They are very sociable. Libra particularly, I would say, because they just love to spend time with other people. Gemini much more about being the chatterbox. I mean, if you can imagine them being drunk at a party, Libra is going to be so Gemini's going to be the one that gets drunk and just talks crap. And then you've got Libra, who's probably like the really lovely one that's, careful about how much they drink. They might have had a bit too much, but they might be hugging everyone going, oh, I love you. You're my best friend. And then Aquarius is going to be the one who just starts acting like a complete nutter and, finds their group of people that they want to talk to, maybe a little bit cliquey, and, starts doing weird stuff like breakdancing or just doing stuff that's really outside the box, that just kind of not trying to draw attention to themselves, but accidentally doing so. The drunk air signs. Maybe I should do the drunk signs of the Zodiac. What do you think? But yeah, so she said that she's very social, friends all over the world, and she's the one that brings people together for reunions and stuff. She studied architecture and interior design, which she doesn't work in that area. But again, this is architecture, is a very, it's designing buildings and having to have that eye for composition and beauty, but also having that technical aspect, and interior design as well. And she has had a love of art and design for all of her life. Aesthetics are really important to her. Here she says, I definitely fight for others. If someone has been treated badly, I will stand up for them. I even fight for people I don't know, like celebrities. I fight over people's points of views, even though they aren't mine. I once stood up to my boss and told her she wasn't treating us fairly. I do have an activist side of me, and I get really angry when certain groups of or people in society are suffering and nobody is giving the attention or even knows about them. So that's interesting as well, because she's not fighting for the sake of conflict, she's fighting for fairness. What else? Home life is important to me. I will do anything I can to create harmony. Is there anything else that I need to cover here? I just think it's really interesting that we covered that. I want to eventually get into art, therapy and wellness, helping others with their emotional health and creating community while also creating and having fun. So as you can see, you interpreted my chart pretty well. So I guess if you didn't hear that episode, it's probably worth going back to it and having a little listen about what I said about Cara. But she obviously resonated to the cardinal aspect, but also the Libra aspect, which, Cara, if you are listening, it would be great to hear whether or not any of the stuff I've said about Libra resonates with you, and anybody else who's got Libra in their chart, if you can get in touch with me and let me know. Now, the ruling planet, Venus, so the ruling planet of your descendant and of all your Libra stuff is Venus, and it happens to be in Scorpio, and it also happens to be in your 7th house. So actually, even though you've got all this Libra stuff, there is a bit of a Scorpio flavour to your chart as well. So striking a balance might be particularly hard for you, because there's an aspect of whereas Libra tries to create balance, Scorpio actively seeks out feeling the extremes in situations. So they might be trying to they might want to be extremely when I say extremes, it's like they may go totally vegan and be completely vegan and be totally on it, and get really into all aspects of it and learn all about it. Or they might fall off the wagon and just go and be like the biggest carnivore on the planet. Like, there's no middle ground. Libra's trying to find the middle ground. Scorpio is actively seeking to explore both ends of the spectrum without even going anywhere near the middle ground. So both of those signs are kind of associated with trying to strike a balance, because nobody can live a life where they're living extremes all the time. It's really hard to be, like, Scorpio is so all or nothing, whereas Libra tries to be a little bit of everything. So you having that stellium in Libra, which is so seeking balance and fairness and equilibrium, you've got that eye for art, you're interested, or you've studied that interior design, you've got this really amazing eye for beauty and understanding composition and balance. But then you've got this Scorpio Mercury that talks about extreme situations, and is interested in mysteries, mysterious subjects, and maybe the taboo, addressing issues that maybe other people want to avoid. But you've also got Venus in Scorpio as well, which kind of seeks out a slightly more difficult path than perhaps Libra envisages for herself. So, you know, it gives you that flavour, that Scorpio flavour, which we will be getting into Scorpio in the next episode. But I just thought I'd go with Cara today for that one, because I actually had feedback from Cara and I thought it'd be useful to include it in the episode. Now, I know we talked about Kate Winslet before. She's got some planets in Libra. I think I've got Kim Kardashian down here as a Libra as well. I know she's got Sagittarius something. Maybe it's Sagittarius rising. I'm not sure. Kelly Brook, I think, has Libra rising, and she has her Venus in conjunction with her Sun, I think. Let's have a quick look for Kelly. Smelly Kelly. Kelly Brook. Birth chart. My friend said when I type I sound like Peppa Pig's mum for some reason. Peppa Pig's mum at work. So Kelly Brook's chart. Kelly has got a Venus Neptune conjunction, as she has Libra rising, but she's got a Capricorn moon. She's a Sagittarius, but she's early Sag. She's 0 degrees, so she's just come out of Scorpio and she's in Sagittarius. But we're not talking about Kelly Brook. I just thought I'd point out that she's a beautiful, beautiful girl, and she's actually kind of embracing the fact that she's not stick thin. If you follow her on Instagram, you can tell she really enjoys cooking and date nights, and she's had a series of boyfriends actually, and it's never really worked out. But she's very much into her relationships, and she's a model. She wears beautiful clothes. She's very feminine, and she's got these like little date night little tubs that they have all these sweets stashed in them. Like I look at it and I think, oh my goodness, I'd put on so much weight if I ate all that stuff. But there she is. She's doing her relationshipy other person, growing through relationships and being beautiful and feminine, that Venusian quality. Kelly Brook, I just like Kelly Brook. I just think she's a nice girl. But the chart I wanted to look at was, where is he? Did I even bring him up? I didn't. Okay, so I thought I would talk about, he's got an A Rodden rating, is Bill Clinton. So he is a sun in Leo, actually. And he has a moon in Taurus, but he has got Mars, Venus, Neptune and Jupiter all rising in Libra. And I think that's what you meet. When you meet someone, you meet the ascendant. So I've picked out two people, Kelly Brook and Bill Clinton. They're not Libras, but they have got that Libra essence about them that I think that we meet a lot with them. Bill Clinton obviously was the president of America, and he's married to Hillary Clinton, and they're kind of like a power couple. But the problem, obviously, with Bill was he publicly cheated on Hillary with Monica Lewinsky, and then he publicly denied it. And he's like kind of a very likable president in the sense that he's very charming, and quite has an attractive quality about him. And the thing is, he had Venus, the ruler of Libra, rising in Libra as well. So he had that extra charming kind of sort of that it kind of adds that extra charming flavour. And he kind of somehow managed to, I mean, I don't think he'll ever live it down, but it was a big drama at the time. But it was just one of those things that I think Frank calls them like Teflon, like nothing sticks. Libra can kind of get away with it because people just like them, and they can kind of get away with these things. So Bill Clinton's one because he's quite famous for that rather huge indiscretion, which he also decided not to tell the truth about, which maybe some people might have lost some respect for him there, actually. And let's have another look and see if we can just see. Yes, and Kim Kardashian, yes, so she is a Libra, and she's got Sagittarius ascendant, and a moon in Pisces, but actually Sun in Libra, Pluto in Libra, and Saturn and Jupiter in Libra as well. So there you go, she's got 4 planets in Libra. And what do we know about Kim other than that she's like famous for being beautiful, and maybe she's had a lot of surgery to change the way she looks but beautify herself. But yeah, she's also famous for the relationship that she's in. She's famous for keeping up with the Kardashians, obviously, those girls, that whole family thing. But yeah, she's very well known for her relationship with Kanye West and their babies. I don't know how many babies they've got. They've got quite a few. Her birth chart data is actually a AA, so it's super, super specific, and we can really trust it. And she's also developing, I think, Skins or Skims. I think it's called, like a kind of, like a clothing brand, not clothing brand, but kind of like an underwear brand type of thing. And very, she's quite entrepreneurial, which you'd expect from somebody who's quite cardinal, a lot of cardinality in their chart. And, she's got her sun right on the cusp between the 10th and the 11th house, I think, looking at the chart that I'm looking at. So she's quite a lot. There's a lot of stuff going up around the midheaven and the career point of the chart. So she's a very driven individual. But it's all in Libra, so it's fashion, beauty, and, likability. Whether or not you're liked. If you go on Instagram, the amount of followers they've got, there's something very charming and attractive about these people. And on top of that as well, she's known for her relationship with Kanye. So, that's interesting as well if you ever wanted to explore and have a little look at Kim Kardashian's chart. I don't know great deals about her. I do, I know some of these people I pick are controversial. There's something about, I know that they're very, 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 rich and, come from a lot of money, and I guess they're quite privileged. But actually, I just like Kelly Brook. Not Kelly. I like Kelly Brook. I just like Kim Kardashian. There's something about her that I just like her. It's that Libra thing. It's just ability to just be liked. And like I said, Kelly Brook, I just like her. She's Sun Sag, Libra rising, and Kim Kardashian is Sag rising, Libra Sun. So that's an interesting thing to look at too. Both very feminine and very likable, and very attractive people. And if you've enjoyed today's show, I'd love it if you could screenshot that you're listening and just tag at Stellium Astro on Instagram, or send me a little email and just tell me that you're enjoying it. And if I can, I'll give you a little shout out. And I look forward to getting into our next sign of the zodiac, which is Scorpio, which is going to be exciting and something that I can speak about from personal experience, as I have a Scorpio moon. And if you'd like to be on the show, please just sign up to my mailing list. Just go to stelliumastrology.com, subscribe, and you'll get an email which has a little link to an application form that you need to fill out. And that way I've got all the information in one place, and I can get on with integrating your details into one of the episodes. So thank you so much. If you've heard anything I've said, it's resonated, if you want to share this episode with somebody, please do. But please do let me know what you're thinking. Get in touch with me and share your thoughts, share your ideas, share your suggestions, and I will speak to you next time when we're talking about mysterious, sexy Scorpio. Take care, guys.